Hello everyone, my name is Samantha and I am the proud owner of Yellow Au Pairs, a Dutch au pair agency. So we're located here in the Netherlands, and as you can see, well, the Netherlands it is. I have been an au pair myself back in 2010, so it's been a while, 10 years now, so it's my 10 years anniversary. I was an au pair in England, in the south of England, with an amazing host family, and I'm still in close contact with them. So I was an au pair for 3 boys. They were 1, 3, and 4 when I got there, and the youngest one is now, he turned 12 last week. So, oh my God, it's been crazy. Time flies. Yeah, so they have moved back to America because they were from America. After I left them, I have visited them a couple of years ago. We went on a great trip together with the whole family to Nicaragua to do some volunteer work. And every year I go on this social work related trip with my host mom. We organize them together. So she is my best friend, so it's amazing. They're not with 3 kids anymore, they have 5, so it's a big family. But it's amazing to still have that connection with them, even though they're not close by. And now with COVID, it's hard to see them this year or maybe next year. We don't know what will happen, but I'm glad there's social media and WhatsApp, and we talk almost every day. So that's what this experience got me. My amazing host family, that's my second family, and this amazing job as well, of course, because when I got back from England, I started to study tourism and started to work in a au pair agency. And I figured last year, well, why can't I do it myself? So that's how Yellow Au Pairs started. So that's a bit about me.
So my name's Ellie. I am English by birth, but I live in New Zealand, so I'm now Kiwi as well. And I was an au pair in 2013 after I finished college. I did a gap year for, well, a year, but 4 months of that was in France. And I looked after a 6-year-old boy, so just the one, and he spoke no English. And it was one of those experiences where I didn't even know what an au pair was when it was suggested to me as something to do. And I thought, well, what have I got to lose? And yeah, then it kind of just went from there, and it was probably the craziest 4 months of my life, but I don't regret a single second. And yeah, in 2018, I thought I'd bring this out as well. I published a book about my experience called The Big Sister Project, and it's basically a memoir. So it's not like a how-to guide, it's more just like a living diary almost, with reflections in there for people to learn from my mistakes and my good times and bad times and everything in between. And now I'm using that as a platform to kind of run workshops, both face-to-face with young people in like personal environments or in schools as well. And the programs are called Make Way, and it's all about kind of picking apart your own story, writing out your own goals and ideas, and learning about your voice so that you can go into anything, whether it's au pairing or traveling or working or studying or none of that, you know, just figuring out who you are and why you're on the journey you're on. So that's kind of where au pairing has led me to, which is something I never would have picked because I never planned to write a book. But hey, that's what happens. It's exciting.
That's an amazing story. Thank you for sharing.
How's it going with Yellow Au Pairs? Have you got some cool
good.
stories?
Yeah, it's going good. So of course, COVID, affected every one of us. Yeah. So, but now I'm glad to say that I have some amazing new au pairs that really are ready to go and are excited to become an au pair again. So things are going really well, actually, and I'm so happy to help them out to go abroad and live their best life. So it's going really well, and I have amazing partner agencies and connections all over the world. So not only for the au pairs, it's a great thing to do, but also for me, it's a learning opportunity and to really grow as a person still as well. So it's going great. Yeah, so we do place au pairs all over the world, and for example in New Zealand as well. It's been great. So we have opportunities for a lot of to choose from, so they can go to English speaking countries like New Zealand, Australia, America, England, Ireland, but they can also decide, as you did, to go to France and to learn a new language, and or to Spain, Italy, Austria. So there are great opportunities for them. So yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's amazing how like one decision that you made once upon a time to go and do something is like turned into a business, eh? Like,
true, because like 10 years ago when I decided I wanted to go abroad, I would never imagine that my life would turn out like this. And yeah, so you never know what it will bring you, like the year abroad or a few months abroad. It brings you so much, and you'll grow as a person. And maybe now you think, well, I don't know what I want to do for the rest of my life. I have no clue what I want. And this is maybe the reason that I want to go abroad, to really experience life abroad and think about what I want. And yeah, in the end, you maybe have an idea what you want to do, or you're still searching. That's fine as well, because it's not only like, it's the path that helps you to grow. And it's not only the how you say it, the final destination. It's really the
journey.
Yeah. So
definitely, yeah, that's the thing. And I think like it's so cool to see that you've started something, because there are young people out there that are looking for an entrepreneurial idea, and sometimes it doesn't come from something you already have experienced. It comes from something you're yet to do. And that can be the spark. So, you know, even if it's not necessarily running your own au pair agency, for me, it was writing a book, and now I run workshops.
Yeah.
Other people see like a whole new career change, or you might find yourself fascinated with the language and want to go and teach it somewhere else. Like there's so many options, but people, I think it's so easy to like fall into the trap of, oh, I'm going to fall behind if I take a year off or take 3 months off, and you get scared. Whereas actually it could be the best thing you ever do.
True. And I think we both agree on that. And I think, so how my mom always described me was like, you have people that go from A to B in a straight line. There are a lot of them. A lot of my friends did. They went from high school to college, and they started their jobs right after, with no gaps in between. And that's totally fine, because that's something that works for them. But you have people, I think, like us, we go from A to B. Well, we go not in a straight line. We go like up and down and back and forth, and we get there as well in the end. So yeah, it's not a bad thing to take a gap year or a few months off, or pick a different route. You will get there in the end as well, with lots of experience, life experience, and new friends.
What would you say would be the biggest reward from starting your own agency?
It's just something I really would like to help others. And with starting my own agency, I can do it my way. So the way that I want to do it, and not someone else wants me to do it. So that's something, like the freedom I got back from it, that's just amazing. I still have a part-time job next to it, because I just like to be around people as well and have a stable job. But that freedom, and that sometimes it's hard, because, you know, you're good at, most of the time you're good at one or two things. And when you start an agency, you need to think about the marketing and the financial part, and it's a learning curve. So I'm still learning. But I think, overall the freedom I get back from it, and it's the most rewarding thing. So what about you?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think I was an au pair, and then I came back from my gap year, and I did my degree straight away. So I always wanted to do that, and I think that's one thing I'd say advice is, you know, if you definitely want to study and are scared you're going to stay away, get your university entrance and then defer your place, because then you at least have to come back to, and you know it's not going anywhere. And that's exactly what I did. And everything kind of aligned weirdly after that. So I think, I got my film degree, and then the first, you know, my passion kind of then went into videography a little bit, and the French side of things. During my degree, I made a film on au pairing, and I've written other stuff about au pair related stuff. And I think it kind of just fed into all the work I was doing, and I knew eventually I'd find something that would come back to it. And then after 2 years of doing video work, after my degree, I then actually taught French to primary school kids for a year.
Amazing.
So, and I, again, like on the application form, it says must be a qualified teacher, must be fluent in French. I'm neither of those, you know, and they still gave me the job because I could speak French well enough to teach children. And it was really great. Like, and sometimes I'll meet French people and speak with them, and they're like, oh, you speak very well. And I'm like, wow, I only would have done that through that immersion. Like, it's not something you get taught in school. So I think those little benefits just pop up along the way. And now, go back to your question, like the whole, like the things I've learned, I think is just don't restrict yourself just from thinking, oh, well, if I'm an au pair, then that means I'm only ever going to learn about language and childcare. Like, that's the biggest lie ever. You know, there's so many other things that go on. So many other things that are going on. And I think that's kind of what the Big Sister Project is. It's like, it's not necessarily like language and childcare focused. Yes, they are massive stories, but it's also questioning my thought processes and my habits and my morals and why I thought the way I did and how immature I was and thought I was, you know, the bee's knees. And there's so many things that can come out of it. And I think now, especially in this generation, there's so many young people that are just, by no fault of their own, absorbed in technology and following people and doing what everyone else is doing because it's popular. And especially post-COVID, everyone's trying to cling to something to make them feel part of something. And I think that's the best time to be like, actually, no, what do I stand for? What do I have to give? And it's a great time to kind of explore that, I think. Yeah,
you're so right. Yeah, true. That's something I gained as well out of the whole adventure, and I still learn from. True. Because when you're young, you're 18, you go abroad, most of the people think that their own culture is the best culture and that's the way others should live as well. And when you get to your host family, to a new culture, a new language, new family, it's fascinating how your way of thinking changes when you're abroad, I think, and your way of looking at the world and different people and cultures. And you learn a lot from your own culture and family as well when you're abroad, but you learn a lot of new things and new ways of thinking as well. And I think that's something great that comes out of it. Yeah, true.
And I think definitely. And I think the language thing as well, like I know French and English are really similar anyway, but I was amazed at how much my thought process around language and putting sentences together changed, because obviously when I came back from France, I was like, it took me ages to get used to being on the other side of the road and reading signs in English, but I was still dreaming in French. And I was like, I'd speak English, but then a random French word would be in the middle of a sentence and I wouldn't realize. And I'm like, what is going on? But it's just because you realize that people's thoughts about the world are shaped by the language that they've been taught, because not everyone expresses things in the same way. And I find French people are very expressive with beauty and they're very vocal about when they find something or someone attractive or not attractive. And in English, it's very much like, no, don't say that to that person's face. Like, unless you're an outward bully, like don't say anything about anything to physical appearance. So that was a shock to the system for me, because my host parents would say, oh, she's so beautiful, she's so this, or she's so ugly. I'm like, wow, like that's quite confronting. You know? Like, and they don't mean it to be mean. They're just very opinionated people. Overall, and I think there's just little cultural shifts, like you said, that you just don't think would affect you until you actually hear how it fits in another society.
So what is your goals for what are your goals for the future when you look at the Big Sister Project and all the other things you do?
Goals are very much something I'm always reassessing. This year specifically, I've kind of accumulated all this knowledge of sales, marketing, teaching, writing, video, and my brain's so full of stuff. And I'm like, where am I going with this? It's just so much stuff. And now I thought to myself, you know what? The only great thing we can do with so much information and tools and tips and ideas is share it. And I think that's, you know, it's going to explode otherwise. Like, there's only so much you can take in before it's like, I have to tell someone, I have to share what I've learned, like, you know, like, and there's so many people out there that just, we're all here for different reasons. We all have different life journeys. And I think everyone's goals are constantly going to shift. But I think I try not to make my goals, I've got some specific ones, like how much money I'd like to make in my life and whatever. But overall, my goal is to just make sure I'm always teaching and learning in consistent flow. So at the moment, that's taking the form of workshops, online stuff, you know, connecting with people like yourself and au pairs and schools, and just making sure that whatever I give, I can also not gain from in a greedy way, but gain from it in, like, you know, it adds to my bank of knowledge so I can share it again. You know, it's not just wasted efforts constantly giving out. I think I've just given you the most roundabout, flappy answer ever. Um, but I think, yeah, I just want to be teaching and learning, and just be a positive influence for young people.
That's just great.
And
That's an
that
amazing
can
role.
take so many forms, and I don't want to restrict it, but I think just being a good example and living by what I try and teach. Yeah.
Perfect. Amazing. Okay, great. I don't know. So what you said, like, it changes all the time, and I think that's how I feel as well. And I think the whole COVID situation makes you really think about what you want in life. And I'm still finding out along the way. So I will start with a new job at a high school in a couple of weeks. So, and that's something I really like to teach young people. A lot of things, like not only the subjects in school, but maybe just mainly like about how to really live your best life. So that's what I want to start doing. So I'm going to start doing that in a couple of weeks' time when school starts, because it's summer holiday over here. And it's really hot. Oh my God, it's really hot.
Yeah,
oh gosh, yeah. So that's what my goal for this year is to really get involved in that, really try to focus on yellow au pairs and grow with that, not only as a business, but also as a person in that, and learning along the way. I did some great projects during the summer, like voluntary projects, with it was called Global Voices, and was a project with my former host mom, and we were tackling like social related subjects, problems along the way that we were doing the project with a group of people from all over the world. So things like that, I think you really get a lot out of that, and so I want to keep doing that and keep learning along the way. Yeah.
Girl.
Yeah.
Funny you mentioned how your relationship with your host mum is so strong, because I'm exactly the same with mine. Yeah. And I think sometimes, you know, for a while, people said to me after I was an au pair the first time, because it was only 4 months, they said, would you do it again? Why didn't you do it somewhere else? And why didn't you hop around different countries? And for myself, I think I just felt so like attached to them that I would almost feel like I was betraying them if I went anywhere.
I know the feeling.
I was like, I can't do it. Like, I physically could. And they've not harassed me, but asked me so many times since, even now to this day, they're like, when are you coming back, you know? And I said, well, you're in the States, and America's a bit of a nightmare right now, so no. But, you know, they're constantly asking, when are you coming back? My host brother's 13 and a half. I'm like, can you stop? Like, English now. He's correcting his parents' English, which is nuts. You know, I also struggle because I know when I was an au pair, and you probably were the same, had friends that weren't in great host families and did have harder experiences, or just didn't connect as much with us. And I know that is a possibility no matter where you go. And that always, you know, holds me back from going on too much about how great mine were. But at the same time, I think, you know what, everything does happen for a reason. Like I've heard of other au pair agencies and businesses and stuff online that have emerged from bad experiences, and now they're doing such great stuff. And I think specifically, if you go through a bad experience or just don't have the best time with your host family, use it as an opportunity to learn as much as you can. Think, why am I here? What can I get from this? What am I learning about this person right now? What kind of personality do they have, and why am I not feeling it, you know? And I think if you take those lessons, it's never a bad experience.
True.
You know?
And I think when an au pair does have a bad experience, even though at the moment they don't really learn from it and look back at it, what they did wrong or what they could change, I think in a couple of months or years' time, they will reflect and they will think, well, it felt like a bad experience, but it formed me as a person. And I think in the end, I learned a lot from it. So yeah, even though they don't think about that learning experience right away, maybe in a couple of years' time, they will reflect on it and learn from it.
Did you keep a travel diary while you were there?
Yes, I did. So I did online and with my pen, I wrote it down as well. So I have this huge box full of pictures and diaries, and sometimes I'll go to the attic and check them out. And
it's cool to look back on, eh? Like I've got and I really need to, I'm glad I said that actually. I need to write this down. I need to take photos of all the pages, because if anything ever gets lost, I'm going to cry a lot.
Oh, me too. Oh,
I do need to photograph all those pages, but yeah, no, I've got my travel diaries from my my whole time there, and I think I look back and I'm like, wow, like you were so little. Like, you had so much to learn.
Well, for you it's been 7 years, so yeah.
You know, and everyone, even like my host family now, every time, because I've obviously get photo shoots for the Big Sister Project marketing material, and I'm public speaking and all that, so I'm like having to dress up quite a lot and put makeup on and all this. But when my host family knew me as an au pair, I didn't wear any makeup. My eyebrows have evolved a lot over the years. I was just a completely different look when I was 18, and now every time I'll send them photos of a photo shoot, they're like, wow, you're a beautiful woman now, you know, you're not a little girl. And I'm like, oh, stop. You know, getting old.
Okay, any last advice for future au pair, future traveler?
So I think the first one would be definitely, like, if you're not sure about whether to travel or do an au pair experience, I think you've got to ask yourself, do I actually like children? Because it's easy to walk down the street and be like, oh, that baby's cute, and oh, your toddler's cute when he's playing in the park, but could you actually live with that child? Like, have a think about that, because I think au pairs often think, oh, I'll just be living with a family and do a bit of babysitting, and it's so easy to get caught up in that. But I think you've got to ask yourself, can I handle children? Like, am I patient? Am I caring? Am I able to just brush stuff off? Like, think about those things. And if you don't, if the first instinct is no, not really, don't do it, because that will ruin it. It's a recipe for disaster. I think the next one is be open to playing the field a bit when it comes to finding a host family. Like, don't just jump on the first one and say, yeah, we love you, come to us, because you need to ask those questions and just make sure you set up those meetings beforehand to really get to know specifics, just personality matches and what they do in their spare time, and get those expectations clear. And then I think when you actually, I mean, I know this advice is very much for au pairs, but I think this is kind of my field of knowledge, I guess. And when you are an au pair or just traveling, just make sure you kind of, I know it sounds so cliche, but just take a breather every morning, like actually chill out. Like, because it's so easy to wake up and be like, oh God, I have to go and do this, and oh, I haven't done that, and you know, and freak out by little incremental things. And I think if you just take a breather and think, I'm young, I'm overseas, I don't really know what I'm doing, and if I ask questions, I'm probably going to get the right answers, things will work out. It's not as dramatic as it has to be. And I learned this the hard way, because I often just let things slide and didn't talk and left notes on the bench, and then my host family thought I was scared to talk to them. Like, so just breathe and know that if you ask, you will find.
Yeah, true. You're so right. Communication is always the key, and especially in this program. Yes, true. And it can be hard to ask the right questions, or questions just in general. But that's the only way you get the answers you want. So And if you don't know what to ask, just go up to your host parents if you feel you can, and just say, look, I'm not really sure what it is I need to ask, but this is how I'm feeling. This is what I'm thinking. Can you help me? Because then you might not even have the question, but they might know what to say. True. Yeah. What about you? What's your advice? So I think your advice is amazing. It's great. I also think that what I said, communication is key, very important. And I know it can be hard when you go abroad to a country that doesn't speak the language that you speak. But it's just so important to be open and to communicate. And so that's one of the things you really need to consider. And you really need to be flexible and open-minded. And I know it's very cliche as well, but it's really the truth. Because you move abroad and you go to a different culture and a different family that's different than what you're used to. So they need to be flexible and open-minded, but you have to be as well, and really take a step back sometimes and really think about, well, why did I want to do this, and what do I want the outcome to be, and just be flexible. Also, regarding finding a host family, of course, you really need to think about, is this the right family for me? Is this the right fit for me? But also be a bit flexible, because if you say, well, I want to be an au pair. I want to be an au pair in New York. I want to be an au pair like in Manhattan with a family with 2 kids, 2 girls from 2 and 4 years old. I want to have my own car. that's not something that's going to happen. So really be flexible in that and be patient, and you'll find your perfect host family in the end. Yeah, just be a bit flexible and open-minded in that.
I definitely think the flexible thing is so important, Dave. Yeah. It's a job because kids are unpredictable, and no matter how much you schedule stuff and say this is your hours, stuff can happen. And you know, really most 99% of host families will understand that if they suddenly require more of you than they initially planned, it is open for discussion to give that time back to you in some way, shape or form. And that's where people like you come in as an agency as well, like to bounce ideas off and get support from. So yeah, the flexible thing's so important, because I think it's so easy to think, well, this is what I'm going to do, and if you don't like it, then it's tough because it's not going to work.
That's true. You're so right. Yeah.
Okay, so if you guys are interested in reading the Big Sister Project, or getting up to, or seeing what I'm getting up to with workshops, both online and face-to-face in New Zealand, you can find me at in New Zealand it's www, it's just short for www.the-bigsisterproject.com. I will write that on the screen somewhere or below. And obviously Instagram is at the Big Sister Project _. And yeah, Facebook's the same. What about you, Sam?
So the website is www.yellowopairs.nl, and you can find me on Instagram at yellowpairs, and Facebook is the same as well. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
You too. Well, day. Thank you, Sam.
You.
Speak to you. Bye.
Bye.